afternoon to all of our attendees throughout Australia and globally, if we have anyone globally on the call. Firstly, in the spirit of reconciliation, Red Piranha acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. So welcome to Red Piranha's Partner Showcase. I will introduce myself as Amelia. I am the head of sales here for Red Piranha, and joining us is our CEO, Adam Bennett. He's filling in for Damien, who is our product manager, but he unfortunately can't make it today. But you're in great hands with Adam Bennett going through the product demo a little later in the presentation. So whatever level of security services you currently provide for your clients as an MSP or an MSSP, we're here to support and enhance your posture and making your business a fully rounded MSSP. So Red Piranha has developed a world's first integrated service platform centered around our Crystal Eye XDR operating system. First and foremost, Crystal Eye protects and provides instant security compliance for you and your clients out of the box. From here, you can springboard to everything from automated vulnerability scans to digital forensic services, and we conduct on your behalf that we conduct on your behalf from our security operations center. So we really do have it all. So let's get into the presentation. Okay, so just a little bit about the company. We, as you can see from the slides here, we launched in 2015, and since then Red Piranha has expanded to more than 70 staff across 5 continents with partners here in Australia and globally. So we are expanding our reach quarterly as it's going at the moment, which is really exciting for us. Our experience crosses several industry verticals, from the SMB to enterprises of all sizes, particularly in those high compliance industries such as finance services, education, defence and government, and health, which is obviously we know quite high in their compliance. Okay. So look, just continuing on with our history, our platform was built out of our founders' frustration and determination frustration of what the cybersecurity industry was, and determination to bring that enterprise-grade protection to the mid-market and to bring a holistic security to organisations of all sizes. And really, our Crystal Eye has always been more than a UTM. It has had so much more built into it, and now we have the term XDR, or Extended Detection and Response, a term which finally describes the depth and breadth of Crystal Eye's attack surface protection. And Adam's going to go into this in a lot more detail for you a little later in the presentation. Excuse me. If you compare the market against other next-gen firewalls and XDR security solutions, Crystal Eye has superior specs and capabilities, yet we're extremely competitive in our pricing, which shows incredible value, and that's really important, particularly in this climate. Australian-made Crystal Eye appliances are built to order right here on shore, making us truly Australian-made, and definitely plugging that hole in the supply chain at the moment, which I know some vendors are experiencing. So many of the other competitors in that UTM space provide a device, but when an incident occurs, many don't have the capabilities to detect, respond, and rectify. And then the partner is kind of left to find the solution on their own. Red Piranha is leading the security space in Australia and being that complete end-to-end security company, which is making the industry sit up and start paying attention to us here, which is actually really exciting. So just as we move on, this is kind of our trophy room, if you like, and we're pretty proud of what we've achieved. So this is a bit of a snapshot of some of the security bodies that we are proud to be part of or recognised by, and some of our industry awards. So look, we work closely with the ACSC. We are members of Team Defence Australia and one of only 2 cybersecurity companies in Australia as a part of that, which is really exciting. Look, I'm not going to go through them all because there is a lot, but we are proudly Australian made, as I mentioned prior. We're ISO certified, so 27001 and 9001 certified, and we are authorized certifiers for our clients as well, which is really important. We're CREST certified for our security assessment services, as well as contributors and members of many other great support organizations. We are part of the Cyber Threat Alliance for our trusted threat intelligence feeds. We're part of Operation Unify Us to provide cyber training and career development to Australia's First Nations peoples and Defence veterans. And we were awarded for Emerging Export Award, the Global InfoSec Award, sorry, excuse me, getting tongue-tied there, winner for the Next Gen in XDR category for RSA Conference in 2021 and 2022, hot off the press, which is exciting. And we're also part of the DSTART, which is the Department of Defence Research Accelerator Program. So a lot there that we have to be proud of, and we're continuously building that as we go along our journey as well. Look, so just getting into some findings in regards to cybersecurity, and this is a really interesting slide from the ACSC S&B report, and it shows that the key findings of cybercrime within Australia. So a huge 62% of respondents have experienced a cybersecurity incident. That's almost half of S&Bs have rated their cybersecurity understanding is average or below average, and they've also acknowledged that they have poor cybersecurity practices within their business. Now, I'm sure everyone on the call can already, immediately bring up a client of theirs that falls into that category, that regardless of what you do and what you say, they kind of still fall into those bad practices, or that they're in a position where they are quite vulnerable to cyber attacks. So 70%, just a little bit more info, 70% of SMBs spend far less on cybersecurity per year that they should. I think the average was around about $1,500 per year, which, most of us on the call would know that is well under budget, and it is leaving themselves wide open for attacks. And alarmingly, nearly 90% of SMBs believe that recovery from these cyber incidents could happen either immediately or within a few days. Yet we all know that these type of events, particularly as they become more sophisticated, can actually cripple a business for weeks, months, and in worst case actually bring about a closure of a business. So it's serious stuff that we're talking about here. Speaking of serious stuff, some of you may be aware of the RI Advice ruling earlier this year. Essentially, RI Advice, an Australian financial services company, had ASIC filed against them for security failings that resulted in repeated attacks. And so despite a report in 2018 and advice from KPMG to improve their cyber defenses, and even though they had done some of the remediations and made some progress, ASICs found that they'd done too little, too late, and too slowly, and actually fined them $750,000. And they were also made to implement a whole cybersecurity plan. Otherwise, more fines were coming. So obviously there would have been major reputational damage and other costs that come from that, on top of that $750,000. So this sets a bit of an accountability precedent that will definitely flow through Australian industry verticals. And I think we're going to start seeing more of this coming about until it is that people really kind of sit up and take notice of what's happening and their responsibility to take action. So an example was being made here, you might say, but, we know, and that RI Advice are not the outliers here. This is reasonably typical in, thousands of businesses throughout Australia and the world. So that's just a little bit there. Now, moving on to the security outcomes here. this is a really important part of Red Piranha and what we base all of our operations around. So the Crystal Eye, our ECSO programs, our vulnerability management and everything all comes down to these security outcomes. So you can see that the diagram shows the full cybersecurity picture and outlines the 7 security outcomes. And we believe that weaknesses in any of these areas leave dangerous gaps in the attack surface. So Red Piranha's Crystal Eye platform addresses each of these 7 security outcomes. And that's how we look at cybersecurity in that holistic approach. So if we start from the top of the diagram and we move around, let's put some imaginary numbers there. So we'll start with security policy management and awareness and education as 1 and 2. These are the soft controls that can be sort of the easiest, but also the most challenging at times. And that's because they are the most human gaps. So 70% of cybersecurity incidents happen from, either clicking a sketchy link or from social engineering or types of phishing attacks, often preying on that human need to help. And awareness training, whilst there is a big focus on phishing, it's not just about phishing. It's about the responsibility being owned and accepted by everyone in the organization. Now, as we move around the diagram there, we can see, number 3 there. And we have used this analogy a fair bit, but that's because it's quite a compelling one. And that is the incident and compromise that happened in Solarwinds, and that was during 2020. So for those of you that may not know about the Solarwinds compromise, one of the key factors into this compromise was an intern that no longer worked at the organization, still had their weak password that was breached. So the password was Solarwinds 123. It did have a capital S, but Solarwinds 123 was the password. So very, very weak. And something so simple caused that chaos. So, where do we point the finger here? Did the intern not follow up, adequate policies? Were they even aware that such policies existed? Did the frontline management fail to follow procedures on exiting staff? And was there even a procedure for exiting staff? Or was it the CEO's responsibility to oversee that all their staff are adequately trained and management were following appropriate procedures? So it's a very interesting scenario, but particularly give current discussions around directors' liabilities on cybersecurity being such a hot topic. So sorry, that's still reflected back on that awareness and education and policy management key security outcomes. So now as we move around to those identity access management pillars, so things like single sign-on, MFA, they're all part of this identity access management, but it is a much bigger picture, and it is a really big part of the attack surface. So for example, network segmentation done well, it's like putting section doors on at the museum so that, if someone breaks in the back door, they can't go anywhere, except for maybe in the gift shop where it might be a bit intentional. But yeah, so that's really how we approach, identity and access management. Now going through to vulnerability. So vulnerability management is more than just running a vulnerability scan and ticking a box, and we need to be really clear with that. So vulnerability management is about running the scan and then investigating the results that are found from that scan, examining how it was able to get in, and then rating the vulnerability via multiple departments, and then revising the risk. So let's say SecOps may categorize a vulnerability as a 10-10, right? It's critical, and bells are flying off, but then what might happen is, as it passes through the next stage of verification and through compliance, and they run their risk over their eyes over that report, they actually may reevaluate this and make it an 8 out of 10, which is still high but not as critical, for example. They may say, yes, it's likely, but the outcome may not be as disastrous as was first thought by the SecOps team. So that's where vulnerability management is utilizing the whole team of security experts to recognize and mitigate risks. And we're still seeing many companies assessing the risk, that of last year's Log4j and Log4 Shell incidences. So as we keep moving around the diagram, we'll look at 5 and 6, which is security monitoring and incident response. And the questions are, who is actually monitoring the alerts and what are you doing about it? So for those dealing with security monitoring, we know it's very noisy and difficult to provide that follow the sun 24/7 eyes on glass. So, and we'd all be familiar with monitoring alerts, filling up our ticketing queues. And a lot of the time, it's really hard to sort out the real threat alerts from the false positives. And they can get missed altogether, really. Everything gets really noisy. Other tickets are coming in and they just kind of stay in that alert queue without too much action happening. So Red Piranha has the capability to assist and respond to incidents quickly with our in-house SOC and our fully, which is full of highly skilled security experts and fully integrated into the Crystal Eye. Number 7, which is the business continuity in DR. So essentially, we're all familiar with that term, but how long can a business survive with downtime of a compromise? What is the plan? We need to have these plans, not because of an if it happens, it's really of a matter of when it happens and what we're going to do about it. So they're very important key security outcomes. So just moving on to the next slide. So still focusing on the security outcomes that we have there, but you'll see how our Red Piranha has a service or a product to assist with each outcome. So, these security outcomes are all common to all major standards, so ISO, NIST, COBIT, PCI, and others, the Essential 8. And we have for you the technology and services to increase posture in each of these areas. So the combination of our products and services helps to establish greater maturity across the entire organization and meet the necessary compliance frameworks, such as the ones that I've just mentioned. So it's quite exciting how we're able to address all of those comprehensively. Going on to another diagram. So this is essentially how we achieve that security maturity for you. So we can see how the usual stages along the cybersecurity journey goes. And for most organizations, they've worked through stages 1 to 3 with advisory, vulnerability and penetration testing and security assessments, as you can see in the graphic there. And then they often stop here, having identified areas to improve, but not really knowing exactly how to move forward. And they struggle to get to stages 4 to 7 of the remediation, security outcomes, ISMS, and improved maturity, where solutions are actually put in place. So often these stages kind of get put in the too hard basket. And because there are so many parties doing different areas of this cycle, it can become very disjointed from a management perspective. So at Red Piranha, we go along all the way along this journey with you and your end clients, with your own holistic solution, combining our people solutions and smart automation to get your clients the information security management system and cybersecurity frameworks in place. It really is what differentiates us in the market. And thanks to this overall process and through the emergence of XDR, we can do this quicker, we can do it more watertight and with a lower cost and resource usage than our competitors. And on average, Crystal Eye XDR provides 5 times more of a solution offering at 1/8 of the cost, which I'm sure we can all agree is an amazing value proposition. So just moving on to some of the problems that, are faced out there in, the corporate landscape. So we have the threat landscape is becoming more complex, and hackers are becoming more sophisticated. We know that. Compliance obligations are becoming tougher, and businesses are honestly getting overwhelmed. You only have to take the cyber insurance forms now that have gone from 10 pages to 50 pages, and they've quadrupled in premiums to understand that compliance obligations are just becoming bigger and bigger. Third-party risk is a big driver for change and forcing businesses to step up. The siloed security systems, with that mix of vendor products that aren't integrating together, that is a common problem that we hear out in the market. And it is hard to identify real threats from the noise. Like I mentioned before, the alerting queues fill up. Who can get to it? How do we know that, the false positives from the real without an incident blowing up in our face type of thing? And incident response often can be very manual, and it can be slow due to that manual process of things. Okay, so we've identified problems, but we don't like to just focus on problems. We like to focus on solutions. So the solutions that we've come up to these problems are the Crystal Eye. And the Crystal Eye XDR appliance offers solutions to each of these problems. So it includes the daily threat intelligence feeds to stay ahead of those the latest threats. In regards to compliance, so the platform and supporting services can help you achieve a range of compliance obligations, almost out of the box with the Crystal Eye appliance, but also with our integrated services as well. We can help you achieve third-party requirements and help you win tenders and new business. Uniform platform. So in regards to the siloed security systems, our unified platform brings all of your security controls into the one place. The alerting side of things, look, our 24/7 SOC provides proactive security monitoring to identify the real threats and just really assist with the noise. And the manual response, so our response is rapid, and it is integrated and it's automated to minimize the attacker dwell time. So it's good to know that we have problems, but we also have solutions, which is really important. So the next slide that we've got here is kind of how we go about that roadmap for the security outcomes. So for any given organisation to become as safe as possible requires developing and maintaining that maturity in each of these 7 areas. And many of your customers are being pressured by their big customers, their banks or insurers, like I mentioned, to get to that ISO 27001, Essential 8 or some other framework. And they come to you for help. So this is what Red Piranha does all day, every day for their clients. And whilst it is complex in the background, we try to keep it as simple as possible for our partners and their end clients. Okay, so moving now into the Crystal Eye XDR slides here. So as you can see this slide, these are the well-known 5 functions of security, all which are addressed through the Crystal Eye XDR platform. So managed, coordinated, and delivered through that single pane of glass, the Orchestrate dashboard. That's why that's in the center there. So we use threat intelligence to identify and manage risks and vulnerabilities across the organization's network. The next generation firewalls, the IDPS, and comprehensive security and policy tools protect. So we're just going around this slide here. And they all come together to enhance your ability to detect abnormalities via the XDR, the SIEM, and the event correlations. And that is so you can respond by using our SOAR, and then that speeds up the recovery to get your business back up and running. So that's how we work everything there with the identity, the protection, the detection, the response, and the recovery. Okay, over to the next slide, which is the incident response challenges. So look, the average time to identify and contain a data breach is, look, the times they're getting blown out almost quarterly. The reports are coming back, but I think we're sitting in around about the 320 days, according to IBM from one of their latest data breach reports. And that's a long time to have something going on, as we can all agree. But look, for one of our clients in the biomedical space, an incident was detected and resolved. That's really important when I say the next figure, in just 24 minutes. So this was achieved by using the manual digital forensics and incident response, so the DFIR service, built into every Crystal Eye. With DFIR toolsets and playbooks built in alongside the managed detection and response, you can roll out cybersecurity maturity levels most organizations would only dream of, and again, right out of the box. So, I mean, imagine being able to go to your customer and say that. It would be incredible. Do we suspect that all breaches can be, detected and resolved within 24 minutes? No, we don't. We understand that, there's different anomalies, but the point is that we can do this fast, and we can significantly reduce that incident response time and bring that down from, around that 320 days to something in the single digits. So we're really proud of that as well. But yes, 24 hours is our record time that we have, which is outstanding, actually. Okay, so what are the XDR benefits? Well, they're quite simple, really. And we do like to keep things quite simple here at Red Piranha. But the benefits are they reduce the risk of a security incident. They reduce the time to detect and respond, which, I've just touched on. And they reduce the cost of securing your business. We have incredible value throughout our products and services. And these three benefits really are phenomenal: reducing risk, reducing time, and reducing costs. They're all three very important parts of cybersecurity. Okay, Crystal Eye XDR Cloud. So we do have a cloud product, and we have our own Red Piranha private cloud. We are integrated with TPG, and we are in the process of being fully integrated into AWS. And as we were hoping that it was coming Q2, that has been pushed out a little bit. Unfortunately, it's not all in our control when you're dealing with public clouds, and there is a lot of things happening in the background. But that is there, it's coming, and we do have our own cloud instance that we have partners on at the moment, actually, selling that off to their clients as well. So it's a really exciting move, as well as our on-premise devices, which just moving on to the next one, sorry. So here is just a really great picture of our XDR platform. So you can see it's a suite of products that protects the organizations from the cloud to the endpoint. And we can offer that hybrid or standalone solution. So obviously the cloud, we do have that shift to cloud computing, and that does require a cloud-first approach to cybersecurity. We do have our on-premise appliances, and it is still vital to protect on-premise networks for effective defense in depth. Most businesses these days have that combination, that hybrid work environment, that you're in the office maybe 3 days a week, and remote 2 days a week. So we really need to be protecting all facets of the business. And just touching on that remote workforce, that increase with the hybrid working solution has definitely increased the attack surface. So correct endpoint protection is more important than ever now, as you would all agree. And these are our Crystal Eye XDR on-premise devices there. So you can see the blue one there is our tabletop, and then we have our larger rack mount units there. We are actually Intel 11th gen processors there as well. Okay, just wanted to, before Adam jumps in with a product demo, and that is coming pretty soon, I just wanted to do a little bit of a services snapshot just for those that may not be aware of the services that we offer. So in the next few slides, before we get into that product demo, we'll just quickly go through a bit of our services. It's not exhaustive, it's just a few of them. So I'll start by going through the eCISO program, which works in conjunction with our Crystal Eye appliances. So you'll see there the eCISO services. It is exhaustive of what a CISO role is. Don't worry, we don't expect you to read everything on that slide. It is a beast of a slide, but it really does show how extensive that CISO role is. And if you look at what it takes, like the tasks of a Chief Information Security Officer, it's clear why they're hard to find and why they're expensive. Actually, they're very, very expensive. So our eCISO services provide most of these areas in a simple, affordable package to establish a security foundation, to manage board level reporting and ensuring ongoing compliance. And that's really important. So with Red Piranha, you have access to a range of best-in-breed cybersecurity professionals within our Security Operations Centre and in our GRC team. And we've bundled some of our core elements of our services into one trademarked eCISO offering, giving an organisation access to the high-level security professionals. So that's a great product that we have many companies running this. It's generally a 12 to 2 year engagement. So it is a monthly engagement, and it's proving to be really, really beneficial to the clients that are running through these programs. And just a bit of a security recap there. So we have our security testing, so our VAPs, and our team of CREST ANZ certified penetration testers and professionally accredited service professionals deliver a full range of security testing services, which you can choose and customize to meet the specific testing needs. We have our CSR, so our cybersecurity reviews, just reviewing risk management. And that's a real essential part for continuity of any organisation. So it's part of managing your business, particularly operating in today's digital world. Our CSA, so our security compliance. So achieving compliance, and I've spoken about compliance a fair bit in this portion of the presentation. So achieving that compliance against various standards is a long and demanding process, and there is no quick fix. It takes time and requires ongoing support from senior management. So it's important you find a trusted partner to help you along this journey, because you'll need the right people around you to get to that destination, and that's what we're there for. CSAT training, so awareness training. Cyber attacks don't differentiate between organisations, industries, type or size. So everyone is a target and vulnerable to attacks like phishing, social engineering and ransomware. And we're only as strong as our weakest link, right? So how your end clients, how your organisations will be impacted if your sensitive data was lost or stolen, or your system shut down, and you weren't unable to conduct business is a huge factor that business owners need to consider. So running CSAT training is a really important part of a business. And then our DFIR, so that security investigation that we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, is something that we can do as a standalone as well. And this slide here, I think, is really important, just to give a little bit of an understanding of what going from an MSP is moving to an MSSP. So what is it for you guys as the partner? How do you kind of see this as a commercial gain. Well, I've got on, I've just plucked some examples of what I think maybe a standard monthly offering might be, for a 50-user company, and we've got our MSP offering there, unlimited remote support. We might have some on-site hours included, bundled in, monthly reporting, things like that. For a 50-seat business, we're looking at, and I've plucked the numbers out of the air, to be honest, but let's say $4.5K. Well, what you can do as you scale up into that MSSP is actually add the additional services in there, like the security monitoring, like that monthly cadence meeting, the 24/7 security operations center, that quarterly vulnerability scans that we perform, that eCISO program, and the managed MDR, EDR. And all of a sudden you've got, what was the $4.5K, you've got now $7,000 for the same size business. And also what it does is it makes the end client just that little bit more sticky as well. They're coming to you as the complete trusted advisor because you're covering off all things, and offering these security services is a big win for you as a partner. So I just thought it was important to put that in there just as you go into the next part of the demo, which Adam's about to jump in. I think it's important that you keep that in mind, and as you go through the demo, just start thinking about how you could actually practically put this and integrate our offerings and products into your end clients. So that's a really important thing as well. On that note, I'm sure you're all very keen to get into the product demo and see what's under the hood of our Crystal Eye XDR. So I'll hand it over to you, Adam.
Thank you, Amelia. Thanks for the intro. Let me just get some sharing going of the demo. Everyone can see that all right? Can you see that all right, Amelia?
Not yet.
Okay,
there we go. Yep, now it's up.
There we go.
Now it
takes a bit to load. Yeah, look, thanks for coming along today. It is a partner webinar. I don't get to do all of these these days, but I really do enjoy talking to our partners and our customers, and the whole platform, the Consolidated Security Platform, which does aim, as Amelia has pointed out, to bring that holistic approach to cybersecurity through a single vendor offering, is aimed and was originally designed, and the concept to solve the problem was via the partners. And this is really important to understand because, I've done a lot of incident response over my time. And one of the first things that happens when we get called in to do an incident response, deal with an IR situation, is we need to get engaged. We need to, first of all, have that engagement process, which is cumbersome. It's contractual, it's manual. And so one of the first problems we needed to solve was that automatic engagement concept to speed things up. We didn't want to take a week or 2 weeks to essentially, get engaged, get on site. The second thing that happens is a war room gets built. And what this is essentially just general people on a project team who understand the environment that has been breached or potentially been breached, understand the business, and then of course your IR specialists. And the thing that needs to happen there is a data exchange, an exchange of knowledge for the IR team to actually get up to speed with what's happening in that environment and how that environment's structured first. I mean, all this can take weeks to happen, and that's before you get involved in the IR component itself or any forensics and analysis. And I'll talk a bit more about that later on. So originally when I was looking at solving the problem, we needed to come up with a way, and keeping the IT teams involved and managing this process was, to me, a logical first step. So what you're seeing here anyway in this demonstration, and bear with me, these are demo accounts and a demo network that I've set up, and I can't show you everything today because that would take 4 hours just to scratch the surface, because the platform is so comprehensive, as Amelia pointed out. But what you're looking at here is one of the partner dashboards, and we have many. defined basically on what type of partner you are. You also have your end client dashboards as well, so they can manage security outcomes and documents, and there's a secure cloud for exchange on that as well. So what you're about to see here is the ability to manage clients, do orders, track commissions and your customers, and deployments, all right from the, you'll see here some scheduled notifications, some vulnerability scans, and data being sent, order tracking and things like that. And as we move down, we can actually track our clients and have an overview of clients from here. And this is where we start to see the true what makes up the Consolidated Security Platform. It isn't just XDR. XDR is one component of what we do. Really, what we have here is a true consolidated security platform that is ahead of the rest. We've been building this from the ground up, for 8 years. We've been in operation now for 3. Palo Alto's making, $3.2 billion worth of acquisitions over the last 18 months to try and implement a consolidated security platform like this. They're still integrating and still doing that. Gartner's tipping this to be the next biggest market growth and category of cybersecurity, and that is primarily because as our tech stacks have got so complicated, so too is the security problem, and best in breed single point solutions just add more complexity to the problem itself. So we spend all our money and time hiring engineers to make these security products talk to each other and work, and not actually dealing with security. We've done all that hard work in a platform approach over a portfolio approach. So you can see here we're being able to deal with clients, licenses, all from a single platform. And moving all the way down, you can structure staff, order products, order services direct from here, and it gives you that initial control. We've actually got some really exciting updates coming in here as well. I'll just click my deployments coming in here as well, which allows you to also manage a lot more of the back-end eCISO situation. So this is where we have what's called a cybersecurity mesh architecture in the background. It's 150 different systems making all these security layers talk to each other. And through that true consolidated security platform approach, we're able to have what we call an eCISO, which is our own electronic CISO. We actually have security companies who are already MSSPs doing virtual CISO engagements now with our eCISO product. And so this Orchestrate dashboard will have a lot more in the next coming weeks of some of those outputs integrated into the dashboard as well. So the automatic reporting for these clients at the moment they get them from their risk advisors. And so this is deployed as Amelia said, through either appliance or cloud, and that really depends on the architecture and operations of the organization. You'll see here we've got a deployment here, and I can view that, check services, and just click on view there, and we can see some of the status, and we can log in and manage that. We can also go through and look at some of the vulnerability assessments and incident response down here on the left, and also training for customers and partners as well. So the next one you should probably do after this as a partner is maybe go into that sales enablement training here, which can be found down in the training platform. We have security awareness training and other things, and we're actually trying to bring more technical training to our partners each month in a sprint session, which we'll add as well. And the next one coming up is myself next week with Nitty, and we'll be doing a technical demonstration on one of the products in here, which one of the functionalities in here that I'll go through. As we move over to the operating system, or the core operating system, because we have several components of the consolidated platform. You have your Orchestrate dashboard, and then you move over to your Crystal Eye OS, which runs either on hardware or in the cloud deployment. And talking about the cloud stuff as well on that, we've got a new product coming out with Intel, because we are partnered with Intel, where Crystal Eye will be able to be sold to our partners on a card going up to 100 gigabit, and partners can use that to build out their own cloud offering as well in localized environments. So really exciting. It's not a virtualized environment. I have a big problem from a security standpoint with sharing security throughput or traffic in virtualized environments. It opens up side channel type attacks. So this is a really great way, cost effective, low on power, easy to deploy. The things can be sitting there ready to go for your customers as you onboard customers, and you're literally building out your own SASE model with the platform as well. I was asked yesterday by a new partner, can we whitelist label this over whitelisting? We call it co-branding, and the reason for that is the CSMA has a complex model. We talked a little bit about that IR situation. We have automatic SLAs in this for the different types of security services. And what that does is essentially pre-engage our people, our experts, with push button, on demand, human machine teaming into security experts. So you can, as a partner, essentially engage with us on the fly and manage those resources, the cybersecurity village on demand, you might say, through the platform itself. And we'll show a little bit more that happens here. So once we've logged on, the whole platform's dealt with a marketplace where we essentially can go in, we can check for apps, we can deploy the different types of security functionalities we want in a deployment. So deployments can be, it's very, as you can see, very much dealt with like a mobile phone app system. We pride ourselves on all inclusiveness as well. So when the sales team are talking about, and we don't really, our sales team really are like cyber security consultants, because as Amelia said, we are there for the whole journey. Unlike a traditional firewall vendor where they'd sell a box and walk away, we are there to improve security outcomes with you for your end customers and be that trusted partner, so you can be an MSSP without the major investment. And we're building a trusted ecosystem, and that's what it's all about. So from here, we pride ourselves on that all inclusiveness. Once you're involved in that package or that level of security outcome, we don't have the little add-ons, I suppose, to scare you later on. And Millie can provide documentation on how that looks from a partner model. Once you've gone and set the product up, we have, like I said, the security dashboards, the system dashboards. One of the things involved in that's different as well is, and I'll just get that system dashboard up, is we monitor with our partners that integrity and availability of deployments included with the standard license. And what does that mean? Well, a couple of big problems that were sort of glaring for me over the last 20 years was firmware upgrades. We look back and see most of the major vendors over the last 6 months have customers hacked by, vulnerabilities that exist in the product itself. Well, this is madness, right? This is just absolute madness. So like the marketplace that we built for deployment and building out the deployments via that marketplace, we built in automatic software updates. So the product can be updated incrementally, and you'll see here this demo was just down on the right here, was updated just yesterday and today, and it continually updates. So if we have a vulnerability in any library or anything that comes along, we can essentially update that on the fly, and we don't have to worry about any firmware upgrades. The other thing that is important to monitor here, in my opinion, is the integrity and availability of that system. So we're monitoring so nobody can hack that device, and we're also monitoring the baseline of that state, that operating state, because the amount of times I went in and did an incident response over the last number of years, and the firewall had memcapped out 2 years ago and wasn't logging anything, and nobody knew. And then when you're trying to do your incident response or actually deal with the situation, there's no logs. So we're making sure that integrity and availability is monitored just out of the base license. And then, of course, we have the MDR component of that too, which I'll talk more about. So the system dashboard gives you just a frontline view of your software, your disk space, and things like that. We also have extended disk space that can be purchased. It's just hard drives with the appliances, and a lot of customers are finding this very useful, because trying to get customers to agree to pay for logging of forensic data is almost a nightmare. They've only just got the grips, and they're getting rude shocks in some cloud environments on logging their actual business documents. When you start telling them we now have to log 10 years worth of forensic logs or incident logs, and if that's in some of these cloud offerings, well, that exponentially blows out. So being able to have a longer term storage flexibility, both at our SOC, and we can do custom arrangements for different partners and different geolocations, of course, but even localized for a customer. You can stick a 10 terabyte hard drive in and start to have some longer term storage on forensics for a year, 2, 3 years. And in the event of a breach or having to go back in time, whether it be fraud or whether it be an incident, that data is available. As we move through, you've got your standard security dashboard, like I said, which allows you just to have a top-line view of what it's doing, any events and alerts, any malware that's been triggered. You'll see here we've got one here. As you're scanning down, you've got some devices on the network as well, which we can map or edit from here, and assign policies from there. And we'll be doing a lot more push buttons policy signing in the future as well. Here we can also escalate directly from the box. So directly from this, we can escalate to the SOC, and the SOC team will get in contact via the contract SLA, and I'll go through that in a minute. And you can immediately engage the SOC team, a specialist, to essentially review this event alarm with us, and essentially have a specialist on hand to get into that. And that takes me to the next dashboard, which is the threat hunting dashboard. This one's quite a complex correlation dashboard, but very powerful. We can track SSL data, encrypted data across that. We can do correlations, and we use this in the event of our incident response programs. And this is that point that Amelia was making earlier, where we pride ourselves in being set up for an incident. We assume the breach, so we're set up for an incident legally with the client, even though we're not talking to the client. We're set up to work with an IT or MSP person, partner in this situation, and we're set up to do it instantly. And then we have a number of tool sets available, and I'll get back to that a little bit later on. So if we paddle back through here, you'll see in the system dashboard, you've got things like task schedulers, accounts management, so it's granular in your account setup, both at orchestrate level and on the OS side, so you can assign different managers and different operators and admins for different situations. You've got Active Directory authentication and connections as well, so it can act as a primary or a secondary and link in with ADs. Those account roles can be set up in groups. You can also back up both bare metal and configuration backups, and of course that storage management, like I said before, where we can organize secondary storage for the appliance as well, for long-term forensic logging. So it's got all your standard things you'd expect, your factory resets, general settings, high availabilities, both available, so you can do a passive, a sort of active passive setup as well for link fail or device failover, something like load balancing, hosts and groups, and of course those software updates and software registrations. If we move down into the network control, I suppose this is where, when we're talking about true single vendor, or single vendor, if you ask the CEO of Netscope, he'll turn around and say, well, true single vendor is about 5 to 10 years away. Nobody's close to it yet. And as an Australian company in Australia, and we have a bit of a saying in Australia, and it's called "Hold my beer." We see ourselves as a lot closer, and we have a lot more functionality coming in every month into the platform as well. And that's all driven by our partner ecosystem as well. We pride ourselves on being able to work with our partners. So moving down, you can manage your certificates. We can manage our devices, both archived devices and non-archived devices. And you can run your email gateway scanning as well as a relay, your infrastructure, DHCP, full DNS server for DNS protection as well through integrated DNS Ensure, which is similar to some of you might have heard of Umbrella. Your network settings and advanced firewall, of course, are all there. Some diagnostics and routing, including QoS and multi-WAN. So multi-WAN essentially allows you to do failover, priority-based selection, load balancing and weight-based, and has sticky session support as well as policy-based routing through with the advanced firewall. Network mapping here allows you to map those devices. It'll do a scan of all those devices on the network and find those that have been running. And we can then lock down policies based on user and device as well. So quite a powerful thing. As we move through to the advanced firewall, I've got some correlation running in the back. I might just shut down. If we move through to the advanced firewall, it has full firewall capabilities, full next generation firewall capabilities, and what we've called borderless firewalling, which allows us to do policy-based firewalling and secure web gateway setups as well. So you can do full segmentation and multi-tenanted segmentation as well, which is really important because it allows us to set different policies up for different VLANs or different types of segments, and deal with application rules and gateway traffic rules and things like that. We've got an application whitelisting, which we call a PEC. It's a passive encrypted control. I'm not going to do a demo of it here today. I'm doing a whole webinar on this next week. I'd really get involved with that one if you're interested in this. And this has been designed around critical infrastructure and IoT more specifically. It's really important. One of the challenges we found dealing with IoT is that a lot of these times IoT, well, they're poorly manufactured. So they have a massive amount of vulnerabilities, and they're hard to update. A lot of them are running critical infrastructure, so they can't be touched, or they're very touchy. So we needed to come up with a way to manage that device across infrastructure, and then essentially lock it and create a secure state. And I'll be doing a whole session with Nidhi on this next week. I'll walk through and actually doing a demonstration of that. So really exciting. We're able to, it also works on encrypted malware. We don't need to know what malware type it is. And from there, you've got a lockdown of that IoT device if that secure state ever changes. And this is patented technology as well. In here, you start to see force field and our AAI, as we call it, and that's linked to our threat intelligence. Amelia touched on that before. We have a world-class global threat intelligence program. We were the first company in the APAC region to be invited to and then accepted into the Cyber Threat Alliance based out of Washington. And one of the challenges with that too is it's easy to buy data feeds in threat intelligence. The hard thing is essentially integrating those, or that intelligence into your infrastructure to get an actionable outcome. Well, here with AAI, for example, that's already done for you. It's already linked in. And in fact, we've got a new app coming in the next few weeks. We're just working on the GUI now, which integrates further into the Azure platform of Microsoft, where you can monitor Azure and Windows Defender and the Microsoft stack. But also what will come in that is we're able to take the threat intelligence through this part of the infrastructure, the XDR and CSP infrastructure, and push that into the Microsoft stack to do essentially to give you a security outcome benefit, and that's all inclusive of the platform. So really exciting. It's a real dynamic program. We're tracking live threats. You'll see we publish a weekly threat report with the different threats we're sort of tracking each week. So if you want to post, you get a grab of that, you can see which malware sort of campaigns we're actually essentially running on there. You've got your advanced firewall, like I said, your anti-malware, file scanning, anti-phishing, and antivirus. You got your full IDPS integrated as well, and this can run multi-tenanted as well. So this can be set up for different networks. It's a fully managed system. You'll see there's 50,000 rules here. And again, this is tracking the latest threats. It tracks and protects against the latest command and control and latest malware. It processes over 3,200 protocols as well. Really important. It's about as many known protocols that you are, but you also, through your hosts and groups, can actually, if you do have a critical OT environment, you can actually create new protocol structures in the platform as well through the GUI, which is really important. And this can run multi-tenanted as well. So you can set up different profiles with your secure web gateway. Here, looking at web filter, you can structure that around different protocols, have a different policy for each one, and it's all fully integrated with heuristic scanning, so your machine learning and your other scanning there, as well as your antivirus, as well as your IDPS. So it's linking as well as your DNS and TLS monitoring as well. So you've got deep packet inspection as well there. If we move down to the compliance controls, some of the things you got, DLP is often used. This could be used as a honeypot for DLP. I was having a conversation with a partner last week on structuring an insider threat program for them, and it's quite a long conversation. It's one of the trickiest things you can actually try to manage, and I wouldn't trust any one piece of vendor technology for this type of program. You really need to think down and strategically set up your classification program, set up your DLP across that, and then come in and use something like the DLP here to maybe set up some of those honeypots to catch some of that out. But it really does need to be structured around good policy for your SWG, then moving all the way through to your IDPS, and then the file tracking management, which the new Windows Azure monitoring component integration we have in this will actually help with that too, being able to correlate that. You've got your incident response. So this goes back to this one's already been set up. But essentially when you log on and set up, it's about connecting that CSMA. You actually have SIM as well, which is just once you sign up, you choose your levels of MDR, you put in your different contacts, and I've just got personal email, and I'll just share that. That's all right. Your trusted people. Who do you want contacted in the event of a situation? And this creates those SLAs, goes back to orchestrate, tells our soft teams how we operate with you, and it's all automated. So when you're setting this up, you can set this up with a customer. You've got things like your backup PCs, your database backups and forensic loggings. You can actually run the antivirus on these files too, if you so choose from there, and packet captures. So in the event of a breach, what we need often is more data. Well, working with our SecOps team, we can actually do packet capture analysis, send these through in samples, work with your SecOps analyst, and we can be flying through live traffic in that network audit immediately. And then you got your risk auditing and your secondary storage here, which I'll get into in a little bit, but that's all linked to your eCISO. So what we're able to do, and we've got some other extra exciting bits coming in here, like automatic firewall auditing. The hard bit when you're doing auditing or you're doing a compliance program, well, one, you've got your strategy, your soft control, and working with top end to get things put on paper and process and policy. But then you've got your need to match those technical controls with the soft controls. And that's actually a challenging thing to do. Anyone who's worked in compliance and done a bit of auditing knows that the onerous process of auditing is actually a hard thing to do, time consuming. And why spend our time, our cybersecurity budgets, just trying to work out if we're doing security? Why can't the platform tell us if we're doing security? I mean, if we can get that, and that's the mission of a true consolidated security platform. So we've already started to integrate things like firewall auditing. You've got things like our attack surface reduction endpoints here, which do application allow listing on endpoints, but then link that back in to the product itself. You've got incident response. Because we've got set playbooks, you can automatically put out an incident response procedure, not just a policy, but instantly. You also got vulnerability management, and we've extended this now. So there's a number of different types of vulnerability and penetration testing, and we do this as a company, both manually. But a couple of things here: you can do infrastructure scans with a scanner, but you can also do with our container and server monitoring, actually live monitoring of and creating an SBOM, a software bill of materials, which then helps the electronic eCISO program with that asset management process as well. And of course, one of the hardest things to do is scanning those containers, so we can set that up on a live system, and now you can monitor and have that vulnerability management running across servers and containers, as well as the monthly scans or the other type of vulnerability management. So it really does extend that vulnerability management program. Most of the reports, we've gone away from the traditional PDF email type reports that the old firewall UTM products used to have. And the reason for that is data. They just can't handle the amount of data. And that's where we've really moved towards this Orchestrate platform to do that for customers and bring them out. So I'll finish up now because I know I've gone a little bit over time. Amelia didn't give me that much time, but what we're able to do here with this attack surface reduction of borderless firewalling is even things like RPC type firewalling, stopping lateral movement. We're aimed at really reducing that threat response time with automation across the situation. So, we pride ourselves on being able to work with our customers to, essentially manage that, get that down to an acceptable level. If we look at incident response over the last 2 years on some of the biggest breaches, there was incidents and alarms that were triggered. It's just that the incident response program was so onerous that they got sent through to the keeper. What we've done is been able to essentially remove that, get it down, get it cheapened up. The TCO is low enough that we can work together to analyze a specific event and rule it out. I'd rather rule out 50 events a year than leave 50 events a year from the platform and one of them be a proper breach that costs tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Anyway, that's all I can squeeze in today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Amelia. Happy to answer a few questions after there's some questions here. And like I said, doing another session next week, a little bit more drilling down, a little bit more demo on one of the features around that passive.
Thanks, everybody. I think Adam may have just dropped off there for a little bit, but that's fine. Jekka, can I get you just to bring up the other presentation, my presentation quickly, just so we can get to just to bring up on the screen here we go. This is a session that Adam was talking about that we're running next week, which is on next Wednesday, the 21st of September, protecting the critical infrastructure with Crystal Eye Zero Trust and Passive Encrypted Traffic Protection Profiles. So that's going to be run by Adam and Nidhi, who is our Senior Security Software Engineer, a brilliant mind, great presenter as well. So that's going to be a really, really important session, quite technical. So for those techs on the call, definitely go to our website and you can register for that via the events page. Now, for anyone on the call that is looking to sign up as part of our partner program, there we go, Adam's just jumped back in. You can do that via our website, so www.redpiranha.net. And if you go to the partner section, you can sign up. It's quite simple. It's literally clicking on the sign up section, putting in your details, and then your appropriate BDM will be in contact once that form's gone through. So BDMs are split up by regions, and depending on whereabouts you're located will depend on whether on who will be assigned to you. But it's a very simple process to sign up to our partner program. Now, as Adam mentioned before, we're really happy to take any questions that you may have in regards to the product, so the XDR platform itself that Adam ran through, or if there's any other questions about our services or becoming a partner, or anything else that you may think of, please feel free to either go off mute and ask a question, or you can pop it in the chat section and we'll be able to answer from there. So don't be shy. I'll give just a couple of minutes for that if anyone wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, thanks, Damien. Yeah, I went through a little bit of it there. We obviously got those ability to do the multi-WAN profiles. So what we can do there is even for, and we're looking at ways to expand the use case write-ups right now, because it's very good for working with containers and things like that. So we can use the multi-WAN advanced so next-gen firewall component with that sticky session support to start to load balance through different network segments, is particularly in sort of more complex environments. So there's some really great stuff coming along there. We'll probably have some separate sessions on that. And so like, customers are starting to see how, particularly when you start talking about zero trust and sort of real segmentation that we need across the different types of networking in your environment. So there's some great functionality already with that sticky session support and the priority-based selection. And we'll be writing up some good use cases there on how that could be used in container and cloud type networking. Sorry, should have put myself back on camera then. Yes, and there's the event next week, the Zero Trust webinar, which we talking around passive encryption control for IoT devices as well. So hopefully you can get along to that. But feel free also to add me on LinkedIn if you're here today as a new partner. I'd be happy to chat offline as well and answer any questions. But we have gone over for a few minutes, haven't we, Amelia?
Sorry, I was talking away there and I was on mute. We do have a little bit of time, but I don't want to linger too much. If everyone's happy with the presentation, then I think what we might do is we might finish things up, and just want to extend another thank you to all those that have attended. We look forward to chatting to you offline in regards to the partner program, and obviously seeing you in our next steps of webinars. On that note, I think we can finish it up.
Cool. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Jekka.